13-year-olds are the meanest people in the world. They terrify me to this day. If I'm on the street on like a Friday at 3 p.m. and I see a group of 8th graders on one side of the street, I will cross to the other side of the street because 8th graders will make fun of you, but in an accurate way.
There's a certain kind of cruelty that can only be found in middle school that is born out of the uncertainty, a moment in life where everything changes. Your own body starts to hate you, your preconceived notion starts to shatter, and the world around you no longer makes sense. And it's out of this moment of confusion that bullying can be at its worst, where we are the most uncertain of ourselves. Despite the rise of bullying, it still feels almost taboo to talk about it. We hide it in the corner until it inevitably happens again. It can be a cruel and scary world out there, but with 20% of students admitting they have been bullied in the US and 11% in Europe, it's a dialogue that we need to have. It needs to be formed. Film and television has this ability to allow us to formulate dialogues for complex topics that we often stay away from. Season 2 of Sangatsu no Lion takes a look at the growing issues of bullying in Japanese school, not from a fairy tale standpoint, but one that is much more grounded in reality, allowing for these conversations to be formed about bullying.
They all kept their distance, but of course Hina couldn't do that. She knew they were being unfair. She was fond of the friend she'd known ever since grade school, and she cared for her a lot.
Hinata is the stereotypical good-natured kid, maybe even more than that, a ray of sunshine coming down from the heavens after witnessing her friend Chiroko being tormented by the school bullies to the point where she felt the only next action she could take was to move away. She lashes out at the bullies. In a lesser show, this is where it would end, with the bullies coming to the realization that they were wrong and everyone lived happily ever after. But life is not a fairy tale, and neither is Sangatsu no Lion. Instead of becoming the hero, she becomes the next victim, their newest target. The consequences of this action affects her whole class. Moments that should bring happiness bring only anguish. A trip to Kyoto should be something to look forward to, but Hinata's stomach causes her to be in pain. Not of a disease, but of nerves, scared to face what is in store for her tomorrow. Surrounded by the feeling of hopelessness, the authority figure closest to the situation, her teacher, refusing to acknowledge the situation, playing ignorance as he watches a dark cloud swallow up her class.
If you see an act of bullying, or if you are bullied yourself, please speak to a teacher.
A line spoken in an endless amount of school assemblies, an invisible contract between students and teacher in order to stop bullying. But what happens when the teacher breaks the contract?
I think you're misreading the situation, dear. The girls in that group are just playing harmless prank.
When Hinata first brings up bullying to her teacher, she's quick to dismiss it, gaslighting it, believing that it is pointless to intervene, a repeat of events he has already seen time and time again. What is the point of intervening when no matter what, the events will repeat next year? Maybe ignoring the situation will allow it to correct itself, confident in this belief that this is the best route for her to take. But as the arc progresses, her confidence in her decision starts to demeanor, and she becomes less and less stable, collapsing from the guilt he has for letting the bullying go on for so long. This is expressed to us through a brilliant montage sequence. It carefully juggles shots of the teacher ranting at the students, bubbles coming up from water, a hand reaching out, shots of the student's reaction in a dying flower. Because of the collage effect, all of these different shots become connected. In a way, we become a little sympathetic to the teacher. She's not necessarily a bad person, but one that has given up and hoped the situation would fix itself, for it only to increase intensity instead. The flashbacks of past bullying from years prior come bubbling up, along with the realization that she should have done something, but she was unable to. As this dam breaks, she becomes less and less stable. The air from her head starts to escape, and she reaches out to the cause of this frustration, in anger and in desperation, until she collapses from the lack of oxygen. The class is left alone with only their thoughts to consider. One of the effects that bullying has on an individual is loneliness. They become isolated from their peers, being turned into a typhoid Mary. The rest of the class becomes fearful that they will become the next victim if they engage with them. A harsh reality, with 70% of students admitting to witnessing bullying, but never telling anyone in fear of that very thing. Throughout the bullying arc, the color gray is used to paint the feeling of loneliness, of isolation, first with Kiriko and then with Hinata, when she becomes the newest target. In the first part of the arc, Kiriko is filled with colors, but her classmates are grayed out, almost alien nature to her and the audience, a clear rift between everyone else and the few that acknowledges her, Hinata and the group of bullies. When Hinata explains the situation to the teacher is grayed out like the rest of the students, a clear non-verbal clue that she will do nothing.
What a big chicken, right?
Notice how the rest of the students are whitewashed, almost sickly in nature, unsure of her association with Kiriko if she will become the next target. And when she does, the unnamed classmates once again become grayed out. But this time, the color gray does not just stop with them, it fully engulfs the school except for Hinata and the new monarchs of the school. Bullying is a group activity. It's not one singular bully, as is often depicted in media, creating a one versus one narrative structure or a one versus many where the bully almost seems godlike in their depiction, a modern rendition of Hades out from the underworld to torment the school. But in reality, this is not perpetrated by an individual but by a group, almost creating a self-support group for each of them to continue this vicious act, with a singular individual acting as the head of the group, controlling in a way the direction of said group, but also in the need of the support from the other members as much as they need her, a symbiosis relationship dependent on a parasitical one. This batch of bullies leaning heavily over Hinata's class becomes the divine rulers of this small group of people. Their subjects have lost the ability to enjoy themselves, just wishing for their time in this prison called school to end. The color gray, as mentioned before, has engulfed the school and will not let it go. Except for Hinata's color surrounds her.
I don't regret anything. I just can't. After all, I know that I didn't do anything wrong. I won't let them bring me down, ever!
Free from the thoughts that this is her fault, then see herself as to blame, standing on a wall of moral superiority, not fully able to jump to the other side yet, where the grass is greener, but being held down by those very people that should help her. As she stands on this wall, she can't help but wonder, why does the bully torment her and Kiriko? What cruel enjoyment does she get out of this, leading a pack of bullies? And the bully's eyes in a way reveal the answer, constantly looking away and never looking directly at the victims or anyone to that matter, bored at the situation, believing others are beneath her, only looking at them when she is attacking them. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and if you're weak than her, then you deserve to be chewed out and spit out. After meeting her mother, you understand why she has this worldview. Her mother is intense, viciously firing verbal attacks like a machine gun to defend her daughter. And the defend part of that sentence is so fundamentally important. The bully does not understand that there is a time and place for everything. There is a time to be vicious, like when defending someone. Her lack of life experience. She interprets her mother's action as being appropriate to anyone weaker than her. It becomes her view of how society functions. Early in the arc, Rei sits down with Takahashi to discuss one centralized question: how can we stop it? As Takahashi points out to Rei, unfortunately, there's not one universal cookie-cutter answer that can solve this problem. It's as complex as we are as individuals. The motivation that causes a group to bully is different each time. And the thought of helicopter parents, or even worse, lawnmower parents, intervening with their child's life when they don't want it, could cause an even bigger rift between them and the rest of the school. Maybe the best thing we can do is to support them, let them know that we have their backs to help them any way we can. But honestly, I don't really know. But as I said in the beginning, it's a dialogue for us to have. I'm the Forgotten Critic, and if you'd like to learn more about the effects of bullying, I've put down some resources down in the description. And if you see my fiance, please let her know.